A very warm good afternoon, everyone. Moksha is Envision 2024, the annual cultural and technical festival of NSUT, in collaboration with ISKCON Dwarka, welcomes His Holiness Swami Bhagwan Keshava Swami. Swami Bhagwan Keshava Swami, or popularly known as Keshava Swami, is a graduate from University College London, born and brought up in London suburbs. After his graduation at age of 21, he traveled all across India, and at that age, he accepted Brahmachari Ashram, committing himself full-time to the process of Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness. He came in touch with the process during his college days. For last 25 years, Keshava Swami has been traveling all across the world, majorly Europe, America, Asia, and Africa, sharing the process of Bhakti Yoga. In 2022, Keshava Swami accepted the Sannyas order of life. And in the same year, he launched the Think Gita platform, which is world's largest platform of interacting and efficient Bhagavad Gita teaching. Swami Bhagwan Keshava Swami has spoke at several of the Fortune 500 companies and also at few of the world's most prestigious educational institutions. Few of them include the University College London, ETH Zurich, Stanford, University of Toronto, University of Texas, Dallas, University of California, so on and so forth. So it's our greatest privilege today to have among us His Holiness Swami Bhagwan Keshava Swami. I would like to request Asa Singh ma'am from DSW office to kindly come on the dais and facilitate Maharaj. Also among us is His Grace Amog Leela Prabhuji, a very well-known motivational speaker and life coach. He's also the Vice President of ISKCON Dwarka. So we would like to request Prabhuji also to please come on dais and accept memento. Also among us is His Grace Brihad Mridanga Prabhuji from USA. We would also like to request Prabhuji to kindly come on dais. Also, I would request His Grace Baleshwar Rupa Prabhu and His Grace Achyutanand Prabhuji to come and dais and accept the mementos. So thank you very much, Keshava Maharaj, for your precious time. And now in this discussion, I have some couple of questions with me, which I'll be asking to Keshava Maharaj. And after a few of them, we'll reach out to you all for your doubts and queries. So kindly keep them ready. Having seen your previous talks, I have seen that you often start with Sanskrit chants and prayers. So I would request if you would like to continue the same tradition. And also, because most of us here are not very fluent in Sanskrit, so if you would also explain the meanings behind those prayers.
Thank you so much. First of all, before I begin, thank you all for coming this afternoon. Really, really appreciate it. And I hope this afternoon we'll have some discussions which will stimulate some thoughts within you and hopefully inspire you to investigate more what spiritual wisdom is out there that can uplift your life on all levels. We are trying to share with you not just wisdom, but wisdom that breathes, wisdom that can transform your life in beautiful ways. All of you in the room, you're at a stage in your life where you're making decisions and you have the potentiality to make an incredible contribution and change in the world. And if you have the compass of this knowledge, then it can have incredible impact. So we're humbly trying to share that with you today. And before we begin any kind of spiritual discussion, then we always begin with some Sanskrit prayers. The knowledge that we're about to discuss and communicate is not understood simply on the level of the intellect, but rather it requires an open mind and an open consciousness. So Sanskrit is a language which opens your heart and allows you to absorb all the messages that will empower you in your life. And so we'll say a few prayers and then proceed from there. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
So, a monk at 21, I guess having a degree from UCL, where you could have landed in one of the most elite jobs in Upper Manhattan, you decided to land up in a temple called Bhaktivedanta Manor, I read somewhere. So how did this transformation came about? Why drop everything and start with this monk business? Why this transformation, and that too so significant?
It's a long story. But I guess when I was 15, I grew up in a Hindu family. I grew up going to a temple. But when I was 15, I began questioning life. Why are we here? For what purpose does this world exist? Why do people earn so much, endeavor so much, and then ultimately we lose it all anyway? Why does love never seem to last? Why is it that the people who have all the material success in the world are sometimes the most unhappy people in the world? Why do bad things happen to good people? All these questions began coming up in my mind, and somehow nobody could answer them. But then I came across the Bhagavad Gita. I was 15 years old and I opened the Bhagavad Gita for the first time. It was on my shelf as I was growing up, but it remained as it is on the shelf. When I first read the Bhagavad Gita, I didn't really understand anything at all. But something struck me when I began reading the verses that there is some incredible, profound wisdom here. But if I want to learn it, I'll have to be patient. If I want to learn it, I'll have to learn from a teacher. And if I want to learn it, I can't just academically learn it. I'll have to also try to live it. Then when I was 18, I went to UCL, University College London. I was already exploring spiritual life, but as all of you know, when you come to university, then that's when you also explore other dimensions of life. Let's say the dark side. So one night I was going to a nightclub And the next morning I was going to Mangalarti at the temple. One night I was watching people dance under strobe lights to R&B and hip-hop music. And the next morning I was watching people dance to bells and mridanga drums in front of Krishna. One night I was watching people trying to find happiness through sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And the next morning I was looking at people who were finding happiness from kirtan, reading Bhagavad Gita, and having prasad. And soon it became apparent to me that one type of happiness was very limited, and the other type of happiness seemed to be unlimited. So by the time I graduated, I was 21, and so I had the offer of a corporate job in the city. But I realized that I can't just make the decisions that everyone else makes automatically. I have to really question, what is my path in life? And so at the age of 21, I came to India, and I lived in ashrams for about 6 months. And then, during that time, I realized what my calling in life was. My calling was to understand and experience this spiritual path on a deeper level, and then try to share that with the world so that they can find happiness in a deeper way. And so at the age of 21, I came back to London and I became a monk, became a brahmachari in the temple there. And of course that was shocking for my parents, as you can imagine. Sometimes in life you have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you can't make the decisions which will necessarily make everyone happy immediately. But you have to make the decisions which resonate with your heart and which will ultimately serve people in the long term. And so I made that hard decision. And nearly 25 years later, I'm still living with that decision. No regrets, and still a student, still learning, and still trying to share what I've learned with others.
Oh, that's very profound. But one thing which often intrigues me is the process of bhakti is something which is related to our heart. It's internal process. And there is often a lot of show of devotion or show of spirituality, but not having anything substantial. But one thing which is very much connected or associated with renunciants is the attire, the saffron dress, shaved heads, and you have this extra stuff with you, also wrapped in saffron clothes. So why this show of spirituality? Why so much external pomp when bhakti actually is a matter of heart?
Today you came to this event in a very nice suit. I appreciate that. Thank you. Why the pomp? No, because you're coming to perform a certain function. By sitting here in a suit, it puts you in a certain consciousness to do the job that you're meant to do today. I'm sure if you'd be sitting there in a pair of Bermuda shorts and a vest, maybe it might have a different effect on your mind. In other words, the externals affect our internals. The clothes you wear, the environment you're surrounded by, the food that you eat, the kind of habits that you inculcate in your life. All the externals affect the internals. And therefore we try to adopt a culture, a dress, a way of eating, a way of functioning that supports our inner aspirations. And therefore culture is a very important part of spirituality. Culture is not the culmination of spirituality, but culture is a very important part of the development, of the perfection of one's spirituality. And therefore, yes, we dress in a certain way, we have certain rituals and cultures that we follow, but it's to help us develop that internal.
Okay. So you talked about culture, and that's the topic for the day as well, cultural engineering. I have heard it often that culture is basically philosophy in practice. And whenever we hear of Vedic philosophy or Indian philosophy, we always hear nice things about it, the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita or the Vedas or the Upanishads. But when we come to the ground reality of culture, of what we see in society, there is caste prejudice, there is partiality, there is upper caste, lower caste, there is inter-caste riots, there is women's subjugation, sati pratha, and all niceties of philosophy somewhere disappear. So the philosophy is very nice, but the culture that we see around is not up to the mark. Why do you think this difference is visible?
Over time in society, there's always the potential that something very, very pure and beautiful can become compromised, adjusted, and lose its essence and turn into something which is actually having a negative impact on people and society. Some elements of religion over time have become decadent. They've become misused, misinterpreted, miscommunicated. But in English we have a saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you have an eye that has become diseased, then you don't need to take your eye out. What you need to do is you need to cure it and then use the eye again in its proper way. Therefore, things like the caste system of what we see today in India is actually a perverted reflection of what the original system was. Sati and forced rituals like this against someone's own will is something which is a miscommunication, a misinterpretation of an ancient tradition that's meant to communicate a beautiful principle of love. When we see things like the subjugation of women under the name of religion, this is not actually what original spiritual culture is meant to do. Original spiritual culture is meant to empower, enliven, enthuse, and inspire everyone to be the best they can. And so when we see something being misused, then what we need to do is go back to the tradition and understand what the original form of that thing was, and then try to reawaken that original form of the culture.
Talking about going back to the original pure, serene form of philosophy and trying to imbibe it, the problem that most of the youths like me face is there is so much propaganda out there of the challenges that Vedic society has had, the challenges that it is currently facing, the history of wars or subjugation like you talked about we have. And in such situations, due to this constant bombardment of propaganda from maybe Western forces or forces from within our society, the youths are not so much ready to accept the Vedic path or the Vedic philosophy. So according to you, what is the process that one should go through to actually go to the serene, pure, sublime philosophy that we have had and try to slowly and gradually inculcate and imbibe the important principles of that philosophy in our life?
Philosophy means the love of truth. In order to find the right philosophy, then the first thing is you have to be inquisitive to find out what is the truth. Nowadays in life, people don't ask questions. You see, when we're kids, we always ask, why? 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 But then when we grow up, we stop asking why. When we grow up, we just continue to follow what everyone else is doing without questioning it. Did you know if someone tells a lie loud enough and long enough, it becomes a so-called truth? Did you know if enough people accept that so-called truth, it becomes a culture? And did you know if that culture is perpetuated from one generation to the next, it becomes a tradition? And then people are born into that tradition and they follow that without questioning it, when that tradition is based on a so-called culture, which is based on a so-called truth that's actually a lie. But the problem is nowadays people don't challenge the world, people don't question, they just go along with what everyone else is doing. So our first message to people is not that you should follow Vedic philosophy. Our first message to people is Atato, Brahma, Jigyasa. Now you have intelligence. Now you have the power of discrimination. Question life. Question who you are. Question what's the purpose of existence. And when you go on that journey, I don't think you'll need me to tell you that you should follow Vedic philosophy, because you will not find any other revelation in the world of wisdom that's more profound, that's more comprehensive, that's more beautiful, that's more empowering, and more auspicious for the world than Vedic philosophy.
In this way, you have chalked out the blueprint of how we are going to do it. But I would like to share the situation, the problem that I am facing, and I guess most of my friends will be facing here. The first level of barrier is endless propaganda, which I have already talked about. If I somehow fight with all this and go a step and step inside, I'll see I don't have a path of how exactly I'm going to do that. I want to know about Vedic philosophy, but I don't know how to do that. And you answered it as Athato Brahma Jignasa. Ask questions, be inquisitive, and the truth will itself come to you. But how am I supposed to ask questions when my consciousness is completely perplexed by my assignments, by my exams, by my placements, by anxiety, peer pressure, and a lot of things happening around me in this hodgepodge of society that we live in, where the family has got expectations, we have our expectations, our friends have our expectations. There is a lot going around, and in that situation, I am supposed to sit down and focus on this ephemerism that you said, Athato Brahma Jignasa. It doesn't even look practical to me. How do we understand it, Maharaj?
Therefore, you need to disconnect to connect. Therefore, you need to create some time in your life where you step away from all the madness. You step away from all the opinions, the expectations, and the messaging and noise of the world. You step away from all the traditions and cultures that have become so much a part of you, and you look deep within yourself. So different spiritual people will find their sacred space in different ways. You can come to an event, and in an event like this, we create a space, a forum, where you can begin to explore ideas that otherwise you wouldn't do by yourself. You can take a retreat. You can spend some time every day in the early morning reading books, meditating. In other words, you have to create the space to digest life. Otherwise, your life will just be going on the treadmill, the hamster wheel, without any real conscious questioning coming about. So it's up to us. You have to create the time. You have to prioritize it. And you have to create that space where you can think more deeply about things.
Okay, thank you very much, Maharaj. I was just thinking, before coming to the talk, I shared one of my friend that I'm going to interview Keshava Swami. And then he came up with this very intriguing question that, like, people like us, we do jobs, we pay taxes, we have families to take care of, we do our social responsibilities. And renunciants or monks, on the other hand, they don't do any job, they don't pay any taxes, they don't have any so-called social responsibility, and they enjoy all the respect and adoration. How is this a fair deal, Maharaj?
Come and join us. As they say in English, it's not all a bed of roses. Yes, we also have difficulties. We also have anxieties. We also have issues that we need to deal with. We also have interviewers who ask awkward questions. So everyone in their life will have obstacles. Everyone in their life will have challenges. But everyone has to choose the life which resonates with your heart. Because when you choose the life that resonates with your heart, even though there's obstacles on that path, because you've got your eyes on the goal, those obstacles don't become so significant and overwhelming. So therefore, we need to create a vision for our life, a North Star, something amazing that you're trying to do. Some may do it as monks. Some may do it living in the world and being extremely successful. And someone may do it in a very humble way. Every life can be a beautiful life, as long as it's aimed towards a beautiful purpose. So therefore, everyone should consciously pick what is the best and most beautiful path that you want to follow in your life. And then the challenges which come, no problem. You can deal with that.
Talking about challenges, if we look at the primetime news these days, or for last couple of months, I would say, we have two major challenges, although there are tons of them, but two major challenges that the world is facing today. There are two wars at grand scale active at this moment when we are doing this interview. One between Russia and Ukraine, another between Israel and Hamas. So other than the niceties of prayers and chants and feasts and dance, do you really think religion presents some substantial solution to these real world problems? The UN is trying, the leaders around the world are trying, and obviously all of them are not successful till the moment. So what according to you is the solution that religion can provide, that spirituality can provide, or the science of Bhakti Yoga can provide to solve these real world problems today?
When we're faced with problems in the world, there are immediate things that we need to do, practical measures to allay the chaos of the situation. And we're very fortunate that we have a world in which we can also do some of those very practical things. So that's very good. However, none of these practical measures that are being introduced in the world in response to global conflicts solve the problem at the root. Power plus ignorance equals control and subjugation. Money plus ignorance equals corruption. Freedom plus ignorance equals anarchy. And religion plus ignorance equals terrorism. If you look in the equation, the common factor is ignorance. Money is not bad. Power is not bad. Freedom is not bad. Religion is not bad. But when they're all accompanied by ignorance, then they become destructive in the world. And therefore, the biggest problem in the world is ignorance, a lack of knowledge, a lack of spiritual consciousness, a lack of basic human values. And therefore, when we introduce wisdom into the world, what we're introducing is the ingredient which can transform people's consciousness. And when people transform their consciousness, then we will see a global transformation in the state of the world. When you trace back every single problem in the world, whether it's environmental, economic, political, social, and you trace it back to its root cause, It's basically a vacuum of spiritual principles that is causing it. And so what we're trying to do is help people to address the root cause of the problems in the world, which is basically a lack of genuine spirituality.
But that we can see in the history, although religions claim to provide solution to world problems, religion in themselves are a major cause of world problems. Most of the wars, be the war of Crusades or the Caliphate War, have been fought on religious grounds, and religion continues to be one of the major cause of confrontations between civilizations and countries. So how is it that the religion can claim itself to be the solution of these problems when it itself is the cause of many of them?
I agree with you, but I said it's religion plus ignorance, not pure religion. The solution is not to take religion out of the equation. The solution is to take ignorance out of the equation. If the solution was to take religion out of the equation, then you'd find that the secular parts of the world are the most peaceful. Sorry, that's not the case. If you go back in history and look at the biggest wars, they were often fought on secular reasons. Wars are caused because of greed, envy, and covetousness over land, power, control, resource, and political power. That's the problem. And therefore, we're trying to teach people not to greedily pursue these things and cause harm to themselves and others, but rather to learn inner peace. Because without inner peace, there's no world peace. Unless we clean up the ecology of our own hearts, we can't clean up the ecology of the world. Therefore, the global revolution always begins with a personal resolution. You have to be the change you want to see in the world.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the last point. We can just maybe wrap up with this one last question. This one I really wanted to ask you. I was just scrolling through your website at the SP Keshava Swami, and I found a lot of references to and the appreciation of Bhagavad Gita. So with endless scriptures available and endless wisdom available all around, why is this specific stress on the Bhagavad Gita? What inspiration do you derive from the Bhagavad Gita?
The Bhagavad Gita is perhaps the most scientific, concise, logical, and versatile exposition of spiritual wisdom. If you want to learn anything from leadership to lifestyle management, conflict resolution to science, religion to relationships, anything you want to learn, you can learn it from the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is an incredible book because the questions that Arjuna asks Krishna are the questions that every single one of us will look up in the skies and ask God at some point in our life. The Bhagavad Gita relates to the human condition, what we go through, the challenges, the obstacles, the confusions of life. And therefore, there cannot be a book which is more relevant, more powerful, and more scientific in its presentation than the Bhagavad Gita, as far as what I've explored in my history of spiritual inquisitiveness. And therefore, we don't teach the Bhagavad Gita as a religion. We teach the Bhagavad Gita as a spiritual science. What we're trying to share with the world is that this is a higher dimensional science which can transform your life. You see, normal science will teach you about matter, but the Bhagavad Gita will teach you what matters. Normal science will teach you how to do things better, The Bhagavad Gita will teach you how to do better things. Normal science will teach you how to make things better. The Bhagavad Gita will teach you how to make people better. In other words, the Bhagavad Gita deals with a realm of knowledge that science and most universities have not ventured into. And that science of spirituality is the science which underpins everything. It's the keys to life, the universe, and everything. And therefore, if you're wise, you'll take advantage and at least explore it seriously to see what it may have that can empower you in your life.
Thank you very much, Keshava Maharaj. Okay, so I guess we have time for one more question. And there's this one question that often challenges me as an aspiring spiritual practitioner is that the society that we live in, the educational institutions, the democratic values, or the social hierarchy that we live, each one of them teaches us to question the authority, to bring them into scrutiny, and to raise questions, to have arguments, to have debates, to have dialogues. But religion is very much deeply rooted in the concept of accepting the authority and not challenging the authority. Whereas the modern values stress more on challenging the authorities. We have come up in a system where we are supposed to ask questions and challenge anyone and everyone, be it government or social institutions or religious institutions. On the contrary, religious emphasizes on accepting authority. So and often we end up in crossroads of what to do. So how do we deal with this situation, Maharaj?
If you read the Bhagavad Gita, then basically, if you analyze the text, every 50 verses, Arjuna is asking Krishna a question. At no point in the Bhagavad Gita does Krishna tell Arjuna, why are you asking so many questions? Just follow. In fact, Krishna encourages Arjuna, ask more questions, challenge me. The amazing thing is, after Krishna has given all the knowledge to Arjuna at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Iti te jnanamakyatam guyat guyataram maya vimrashe tadasheshena yatechasi tatha kuru. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has given all the knowledge to Arjuna. He says, think about it, reflect on it, introspect, and then do what you want to do. There's no force, there's no coercion, there's no expectation. Krishna is saying, you use your intelligence. You see whether my answers have made sense, and if you want to follow it, follow it. And if you don't, then do something else. In other words, in spirituality, there's no force. It's voluntary. But once your intellect has been satisfied, then naturally you will approach someone who you know has higher knowledge and you're giving your heart to them. Not because you're forced, but because you have some conviction and faith in them. So faith is required in any sphere of life. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita doesn't ask us for blind faith. Krishna says question, explore, investigate, think, challenge, and then do what you want to do.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. There was loads of wisdom coming from your end. We talked about how religion can play a pivotal role in our life as an individual, as a spiritual aspirant, and the well-being of the community, the society, the world, and how religion doesn't shams questioning or intelligence, but it rather flourishes it or helps it to blossom. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for all these answers. Now, maybe we can open up for the audience. If we have some questions, maybe we can raise hand. Yes. Do we have mic?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My name is Vikas Upamanyu. I am associated with ISKCON for more than 2 years as of now. I frequently go to ISKCON temple there and dance a lot on the Sankirtan, Hare Krishna Sankirtan. It's my stress buster there. Amog Leela Prabhu is also here. this man had a great impact on my life during my JEE journey. I was not following my JEE teachers, but him. But now what I feel for ISKCON and followers of ISKCON is that you guys, I guess, have a sort of superiority complex. Like your books are top level, your gods are at the top, and your way of worship is at the top. Like you say that Bhagavad Gita is the superior book. I also believe the same. But then you say that Bhagavad Gita as it is, that is from your publication and not from other publications, right? Then you say that Krishna is the superior god. I also believe the same. I am also a Vaishnava. But then you compare him with other gods and then label them as demigods. Like you say that Shiva can be Krishna, but vice versa is not the same. I believe that there are different challenges we are facing to revive our Sanatan Dharma. Like there are different institutions, be it Sanatan Arya Samaj, or be it Sankaracharya Paddhati, or different their institutions are there, and they say that our way of worship and our methodology is the greatest and others are not. So what's your take on that? Like, how do you see this, that when you say that Krishna is superior? I believe that this will, in future, this can create a separatism in the society, that there will be two sects. One will say that Krishna is superior and other will not. So I think this is a threat. So what's your say on this?
I think your question was the best. Let me just be very honest with you. Whatever anyone is doing in this room, whether they're Hare Krishna, Arya Samaj, or atheist, they're doing it because they think it's the best. Otherwise, why would you be doing it? Am I right? Everyone who does anything in life is doing it because they think it's the best. Otherwise, if there was something better, then they'd be doing that instead. So psychologically, everyone thinks everything that they're doing is the best. However, we don't disrespect any other tradition. We don't disrespect any other philosophy. We see that there can be spirituality everywhere. I have friends who are Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, Muslims. I learn from all of them. I have friends who are in different Hindu sampradayas. I learn something from all of them. I know people who worship God by many, many different names in many, many different forms, and I can learn something from all of them. But I think everyone has to go on their quest to look at everything that's out there and ask themselves, what do I think is the most complete, clear, concise, and essential spiritual teaching available? You have to become a spiritual scientist. You have to become an investigator. And you have to then choose, what do you feel is the most evolved path of spirituality? And it's not for me to sit here and convince you of that. What I can do is share my experience. I can share my learnings, my investigations. And then ultimately you have to go away and decide for yourself. Because even Krishna told Arjuna, now you've heard it all, decide for yourself. So there can be truth everywhere. Yet we'll also find that there are different degrees of revelation of that truth. And the most advanced spiritualist is the one who tries to find the most evolved revelation of the truth. And that's something you have to figure out for yourself.
I wanted to ask you a question about the connection between religion and spirituality. I was thinking that religion is the way that one, including the norms and connections to the eternal power, according to one, what one believes eternal power to be existent in the form he considers. So I was thinking that shall spirituality be concerned and taken on the same view in the sense how religion is seen? Is there a direct relation between spirituality and religion? as if two persons following a different religion and even the third who doesn't follow any religion could be assumed to have the same extent of spirituality?
Thank you. So what's the difference between religion and spirituality? The word religion comes from the Latin re-ligare. Re means again, and ligare means to connect or to link. And so the real purpose of religion is to reconnect with the spiritual source, with God, with the divine. What is spirituality? Spirituality means to go beyond the material and to connect with that which is beyond the material, the spiritual. So if we actually look at it, the real purpose of religion and the real purpose of spirituality is actually the same. But nowadays, religion stands more for institution, it stands more for ritual, it stands more for culture, and sometimes the essence is lost within religion. And therefore, nowadays people say SBNR, spiritual, but not religious. But if you actually look at the original purpose of religion and spirituality, it's exactly the same thing. To find out what is beyond the temporary, transitory, ethereal world that we're in, and what more is there that I can connect with that's bigger than myself.
Sir, it is said that everything is already written in our destiny. Like whatever it is written, it will definitely happen. But at the same time, it is said that karma can change anything and everything. So sir, my question is, if everything is already written in our destiny and it will happen for sure, then why should I even believe in karma? Like, what's your take on this?
Thank you. They said there's a new restaurant in town. It's called Karma. But there's no menu. You get what you deserve. So sometimes there's this notion that everything is predetermined. But actually what Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita is that life is an interplay of karma and free will. By your previous activities and the karma that has been generated, there are certain things in your life that will definitely happen. However, you have the choice now how to use those situations and act and use your choices in those situations, and that's your free will. And according to how you use your free will now, that will create your future karma. But when you create your future karma, you'll again have the opportunity to utilize your free will and decide what decisions you want to make. So you always have the power to design your destiny, even though some things will be destined for you in this life. You always have the free will to be creative and decide what's going to happen beyond that. And therefore, the future karma is created by the decisions that you make now. And the decisions that you make now in the situation that you're in now, the situation is created by previous karma, but the free will is always there. Therefore, you always have free will. If you lost free will, there'd be no purpose to life. Then you'd be a robot. You don't look like a robot to me. You're alive, you're sentient. You can make decisions, good ones, sometimes maybe not so good ones. Therefore, if you have wisdom, if you have knowledge, then you can learn how to make the best decisions that will design the best destiny. And that's why spirituality is so important, because life is the art of how to make good decisions. Bad decisions are easy to make, but very hard to live with. And good decisions are hard to make, but very easy to live with. Therefore, if you're wise, you'll find spiritual knowledge which helps you to make the best decisions. And therefore, even whatever karma you're surrounded by, you can always transform your life.
First of all, warm greetings, Maharaji. Secondly, my question is, nowadays, as we all see, that most of our gurus try to spread spirituality and religion in various ways. And one of them is, and that I also admire the most, they go on ground and share the spiritual stuffs like Bhagavad Gita and all. But now the part came where they ask for something in return, and most precisely it's money. So, as my friend also quoted before, that it's monk business. So it's a business or it's reality a spirituality?
Spirituality is an exchange of love. It's an exchange of wisdom. It's a heart-to-heart, selfless offering from deep within. When we come to share knowledge with you, when we come to share these principles which can help you to live a better life, there's no agenda. However, sometimes people want to reciprocate, they want to give, they want to show their appreciation. So if people want to give a contribution, they want to give a financial token of their appreciation, then we'll accept that and use that in the service of God. But if someone has no money, if someone has no facility to do that, we'll still make the knowledge available for them. We'll still give them the opportunity. We'll still give them all avenues to explore their spirituality. So you can come to our temples at 4:30 in the morning, absolutely free of charge. You can come to our temples and take prasadam, absolutely free of charge. You can come to our temples and sing and dance, absolutely free of charge. And if you feel inspired, you can also give something back. Because you earn a life by what you get, but you earn a living by what you get, but you earn a life by what you give. And therefore, when people give back after they've received, then that's very, very beautiful. And that's the exchange of love that we allow to go on in the world. But we have no expectation. If you have no money, you're still welcome.
Hare Krishna Swami ji. I believe India is one of the oldest civilizations, and it was among the top leaderboards when we were developed into a more persistent to our culture and religious beliefs. But before, thousands of years we were topping the leaderboards before the foreign invasion. From the place where I came, I I feel a difference here. From coming from a place, there is difference between in tier 1 cities between religious beliefs. So my question is that does culture and religion, spirituality help an economy to grow? And if yes, how we can replenish the culture into our generation again?
Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. This is the principle of Vedic civilization. That when you begin with dharma, when you begin with principles of spirituality and righteousness, then the next thing that will definitely happen is artha. You'll get economic development. Sometimes people think that if you follow spirituality, you'll become poor. If you follow spirituality, you lose all ambition and drive. If you follow spirituality, materially we will lose out. No. Because from dharma comes artha, from which comes kama, fulfillment of one's desires. And then naturally, what follows from that is moksha, a desire for spirituality at the same time. And so we don't need to worry. If you follow spiritual principles, you will, as an individual and as a society and as a nation, flourish on all levels. But if you simply try to follow material advancement without spirituality, it will fail. Because nowadays in the so-called developed world, We have taller buildings, but shorter tempers. We have wider highways, but narrower minds. We have more conveniences, but less time. We're more connected than ever before, but we're further and further apart. We've conquered outer space, but we don't know how to deal with inner space. We have more degrees, but we have less common sense. How do we replenish this culture into this generation? Gandhiji said, be the change that you want to see in the world. So it begins with you. You become an embodiment of the culture. You become a living example of the spirituality. And then someone will see you and say, it works for you. Maybe I should do that. And then maybe together you can also influence more people. Because remember, the global revolution begins with a personal resolution. So we have to be the carriers of that by living it ourselves.
Jai Shri Krishna Swamiji. So my basic question is, what is the purpose of life? Like, we are stuck in a regular routine or a loop. Like, if I talk about myself, I struggled in school for good marks, then the competition for coming into this college, then struggling for good PG, then we will be struggling for good placements, then in job we will be struggling for good jobs or increments, and one day we will die. So is this the life? Like, we are stuck in this struggle or that?
For depicting the human condition. Someone said to me, it's simple to be happy. All I need is time, money, and health. So I looked at him, I said, when you're young, you have time and health, but no money. In your middle age, you have health and you have money, but no time. And in your old age, you have time, lots of money in the bank, but no health. So I said, yeah, simple. Time, money, and health. Never gonna happen. When we're thoughtful, then we come to the conclusion that you've come to, that there's more to life than just going through all the things that the world tells you is success. Because at the end of it, you look back at your life and think, I'm sure there was something more. So the purpose of life is to know who you are, why you're here, what's beyond this world, and how you can connect with that reality. The purpose of life is to be happy. But how can you be happy if you don't know who you are? Therefore, the most important and pressing question in the world to answer is, who am I? And why do I even exist? Until and unless you answer that question, until and unless you get that equation right, it doesn't matter what subsequent things you do, the end result will always be wrong. Therefore, begin with the big questions. And from there, you'll be able to understand what to do at every stage in your life.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for this amazing session. My question is, how to know that, yes, this is the best version of myself with spirituality? And what are the implications for that? Thank you.
How to know that you've become the best version of yourself? The soul has unlimited potential, so we can keep improving more and more and more. There's no limit to what you can achieve. There's no limit to unleashing your potential. And the way to do that is two things. One is have spiritual wisdom, and the second one is to have spiritual friends. When your life is guided by spiritual wisdom and spiritual friends, then through those two connections, you can become the best version of yourself and unleash your full potential. And there'll never be a point in a spiritualist's life where they think, that's it, I've achieved the best version of myself. Because they know there's always more, there's always greater capacity, and there's always something more that can be done to unleash what they can contribute to this world. So spiritual friends and spiritual wisdom are the two things that will guide you to the best version of yourself.
Hare Krishna, Swamiji. For my question, I would like to share a part of my behavior shift. When I used to give exams earlier, I was so stressed, like what was going to be the result. But after I got into a love with a God, what I do my best 100%, and then went to the picture that I drawn out of love and be like, I had done my part and now rest is yours. So I want to ask, is that a kind of spiritualism or love, or just a kind of fictional escape that we made by giving our responsibility, like now it's your turn to do, while I was the one who is responsible for my grades or whatever?
In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about karma yoga. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturbhur mate sangostva karmani. Krishna says you must perform your duty. You must put all effort, all endeavor, all energy to try to do the best you can. But then after you've put in your best effort, you have to step back and realize that there are other powers beyond your control. And that whatever happens after you've put in your best effort is divinely arranged and always for the best. The Dalai Lama once he said, not getting what you want can sometimes be an amazing stroke of luck. Because we have a sense of the result that we always want in our life, but we don't know what's best for us. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, try your best, put your best effort and endeavor, and then step back and be detached. Ma phaleshu kadachana. You're not in control of the results. The results will transpire according to a higher arrangement. Is that okay?
Radhe Krishna. My question is, why our youth is facing so much difficulty to live a simple life? Simple life is a dream to us. And when I say simple life, it means peace. Why our youth is facing depression, anxiety? When we talk to our friends and random person, they will first say this, that I am in depression, I have anxiety issues. Why this is the major issue in our youth, and how to tackle this? Because our society or our youth have a lot of facilities. Before, when we are living in the 90s era, there were no such kind of facilities that we can search everything on our mobile phones, or we can research on anything, but still we are facing this thing with all the facilities. So
we have all the facilities in the world, but why are the youth facing so much depression and inner issues? If you create an artificial lifestyle, then you create artificial problems. And if you try to solve those artificial problems with artificial solutions, then you create more problems. In India once, they had something called the Cobra effect. You know this? One time there was an outbreak of cobra snakes. So the Indian government said, we offer a bounty, a reward, for anyone who can capture the cobra snakes and bring them in. So in India, everyone is genius in making money. So what the farmers began doing is breeding cobra snakes and then handing them in and getting the reward. And then the Indian government realized, oh my God, cobra snakes are increasing. Then the Indian government said, okay, no more reward. So then all of those cobra snakes that had been breeded, they let them loose. And then it went even bigger. When you try to solve a problem with an artificial solution, then you create more problems. So we're living in an artificial world. The biggest challenge in the world today is to try to live in a more natural way. We do artificial things and we think it's just like normal. I'll give you an example. 30 years ago, people would ride on a bike and go from place to place. Later on, we became more advanced, and nowadays we go around in cars, zoom around all day. And after a busy day of going around in a car, zooming around, what we do at the end of the day when we're exhausted is we go to a gym and we sit on a bike and we start riding it, sweating like anything and going absolutely nowhere. And we think this is normal. If someone saw that 50 years ago, they think this is completely strange. Centuries ago, there was no electricity. So what happened when the night came? People went to sleep. What do? If there's no light, you have to go to sleep. But nowadays we become so advanced that we can do everything at night. So we stay awake and we think that's advancement. And then it causes so many other problems. Yeah, but the point I'm making is that I'm not saying now you should walk away from all technology, now you should walk away from all these things that have been invented. No, we're living with it. We live with mobile phones. We live with all these things. No problem. But know the boundaries. Know how to utilize it. Are you using your mobile phone, or is your mobile phone using you? That's the question we have to ask. So technology and modern lifestyle can be utilized, but we have to utilize it in a way that doesn't create complexity and artificiality. Otherwise, you'll find all these problems in the society that you're talking about. What do we do for a peaceful life? What's the meaning of life, and what do we do for a peaceful life? Therefore, to the Prabhu here I said, first you have to understand who you are. Artificial life means we're going further and further away from who we are. And therefore we're feeling more and more disconnected in our life. If you want to find peace, understand who you are as a spiritual being, and then feed your soul, energize your soul, connect with your soul. And how do you do that? Through meditation, through study, through spiritual company. Then you'll find a level of peace and happiness that nothing in this world can compare to.
Hare Krishna Swamiji. It is said that when you are ready, Guru comes to you. It's not you who goes to Guru for seeking attainment. So what is expected from oneself to be ready so that Guru can approach us whenever it is the time?
The main qualification, as I mentioned, of someone who wants to walk the spiritual path is they must be deeply inquisitive. Someone who walks on the spiritual path has to be deeply desirous of improving themselves. Someone who walks on the spiritual path has to have the humility and the openness to want to learn. And when you have those qualities, you have inquisitiveness, you have hunger to learn, you have humility, openness, then through spiritual teachers, through spiritual books, all the guidance that you require in your life will naturally come.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaji, for this wonderful session. My question was that can you please explain that what is the stuff which you are holding, that staff, and what it signifies and symbolizes?
Thank you so much. So this is called a danda. It's not an oversized walking stick. When we take sannyas, when we dedicate ourselves to lifelong renunciation, then we carry this with us. It's symbolic. It contains 3 bamboo sticks. The 3 bamboo sticks represent the mind, the body, and the words. So what we're trying to do is utilize our thoughts, our mind, our body, our actions, our words, our speech in selfless service to humanity, in selfless service to God. And so we carry this to remind ourselves of what the purpose of our life is. We try not to go anywhere to take from people, but rather we always look to give the best of our mind, body, and words in service. And so this is the meaning of a danda. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji once again. A little question and a curiosity. I see a recent trend in society. There is something called LGBTQ community, right? So everyone is supporting that. We should support LGBT community. What's the take of ISKCON on that? Or if you guys support that community, what like you supported LGBTQIA whatever plus as community as whole, or some letters from that? One of my friend identify himself from that community, so that's why I asked the question.
Thank you for the non-controversial question. Whether heterosexual, whether homosexual, whether transsexual, whether bisexual, it's all artificial. Because we're not this body. We're a spiritual being. And as a spiritual being, we're beyond the temporary coverings that we see in the mirror every single day. Different people have a different relationship with their body. Different people have a different relationship or understanding of their sexuality. But when we come to spiritual awareness, we realize that beyond all of these labels, we're spiritual beings. We have to go beyond all of these things. And while we're stuck in this material consciousness, whatever form it may be, heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, because we're still identifying with the body, we'll never find true satisfaction. And therefore, our approach is always to encourage and empower people to find their spiritual essence. What is beyond the body? What is beyond all the labels? What is beyond all the identifications that we're putting on ourselves? And try to understand that deeper essence. And when you grasp that, then you transcend all confusion in this world.
Hare Krishna, Swamiji. My question is why only good people suffers a lot in their life?
Why do only good people suffer a lot in their life? Well, the first thing is that I think if you go around the world, you will see that suffering is universal. The good, the bad, everyone is suffering because this place is a world of suffering. Sometimes when we ask that question, why do only the good people suffer? The question we're really asking is, why do I suffer? Because I'm a good person. But we've done good things and we've done bad things. We're mixed. And to be honest, we don't know what is a good thing and what is a bad thing. Sometimes the times of suffering can bring the biggest growth, can bring the biggest development in your life. And sometimes the times of great seeming happiness can lead to your downfall. So a spiritualist knows that not everything in life that happens is good. But something good can come from everything that happens in life. And therefore, as you become more spiritual, even if you go through difficult situations of suffering, you will be able to understand how to utilize that suffering to actually create a more purposeful and beautiful life. Some of the people who did the greatest things in the world were the people who also went through great trials and tribulations. So, if you're going through suffering, if any of us are going through challenges, then just try to understand, how can I turn this pain into purpose? How can I turn my problems into progress? That is the art of spirituality.
हरे कृष्णा महाराज जी, जैसे कृष्णा ने कहा है कि तू कर्म कर, फल की चिंता मत कर, मतलब फल अपने अधिकार में नहीं होता, पर कर्म करेंगे तो फल की तो इच्छा होती है ना, तो उसको कंट्रोल कैसे करें?
So basically he's saying that Lord says to karma that you focus on actions and not on results. But when we engage ourselves in actions, we naturally become attached to the results. So how can we get over that attachment?
As I mentioned before, we attach our success to results. We think I'm successful if I have popularity. I'm successful if I have a position. I'm successful if I get a certain percentage on a test. We're always measuring our success by results. But Krishna says success is not in result. Success is in endeavor. And when you make the best endeavor and you realize that the success is in the endeavor, then naturally you will be detached from the results. So the basic problem of life is that we have the wrong definition of success. And therefore we also have the wrong definition of failure. Because we put everything on the outcome. But actually, the real thing is your effort and your endeavor. Because that's all that you're in control of. So you can only measure whether you're successful or not based on what's in your control. You can't measure your success on what is based out of your control. And therefore we have to focus on effort and endeavor. And once we've done that, we can go to bed at night and say, I'm a success because I tried my best. The goal of life is not to be the best. The goal of life is to try your best. But when you try your best, you will inevitably become the best that you can be.
So Maharaj, I would like to ask you something which is very close to me, because I have a lot of interaction with students of this particular age and this particular generation. And as part of popular culture, you see popular culture feeds off of a lot of influence and a lot of popularity and, trendiness and what you call the cool quotient. So what I consider, the problem with the youth, not necessarily amongst other things, is also that until and unless the youth of this time considers bhakti and spirituality to be cool and to be trendy and to be popular, will be possibly the time when they'll realize, yes, this is something we need to, look for. And how do you think that, we could, as individuals, or even the organization ISKCON itself, would promote bhakti or spirituality to be in this true sense, what is cool and what is supposed to be done and should become part of the culture as opposed to that?
In any spiritual tradition, there's innovation and there's preservation. In any spiritual tradition, what we're trying to do is preserve the essence, preserve the message, preserve the spiritual purity. But constantly, every single spiritual tradition has to innovate. We have to speak in a language that people can relate to. We have to address the needs and issues and concerns that people are going through today. We have to have a voice on the prevailing issues and contemporary challenges of modern day life. And in that sense, we're constantly innovating. So every spiritual tradition, if it wants to remain alive, and if it simultaneously wants to remain relevant and also powerful, then it has to preserve, but simultaneously innovate. And therefore, we have many, many innovative personalities who are able to present ancient wisdom in a way that relates to people in this day and age. And that is the constant challenge that is facing us.